What's up YouTube? Today's video is going to be about how you can take a 30 million DPS profile or 40 mil on the armor aura stacker and turn it into 5 billion DPS. I'm going to go over the changes that you need to do to make it. Now, the reason I was doing this is because I was looking at POE.NINJA for like the top DPS profiles, and then the armor aura stacker popped up at 5.3 billion DPS. And I just wanted to showcase how you can utilize this example of how you can make your character do more damage, because 5.3 billion DPS is pretty insanely ridiculous, and it's something that you don't expect to see without some heavy cheating with Watcher's Eye. Granted, the guy is cheating a little bit, but it's not like the worst type of cheating. It's just like a mild bit of cheating. Now, before we get into that profile of the 5.3 billion, I actually completed a Wave 30 Simulacrum Deathless on the Wild Strike character, and you might be wondering, Wild Strike, did I misspeak? Do you mean Lightning Strike? Now, I did not misspeak, and I did use Wild Strike, and I actually prefer Wild Strike to Lightning Strike because of the fact that it doesn't get stuck on pebbles, it doesn't get stuck on a lot of terrain issues, and it just ends up being a very kind of strong-ish skill. And I really liked playing it. It was very enjoyable because of the fact that you don't need to worry about, pretty much you just attack. And I'm going to go over the mechanics of Wild Strike, what makes it so good, and why it's actually probably a viable alternative to Lightning Strike. Now we're at the point in the league where we have to try to find different things to do and different builds. It is pretty hard to find a really good build, a build with insane amounts of damage and insane amounts of tankiness. And right now I'm pretty much using the Berserker archetype to try to use different types of strike skills just to give people a little bit of a different choice. And Wild Strike does turn out to be amazing. You can see that Wave 30 Simulacrum, even with reduced crit, wasn't too bad. And my gear is nowhere near top of the line. It is very good, but it is not insane. So let's go over Wild Strike and if you should try playing it. So here's my Wild Strike character. Now note, tomorrow's video I'll probably do a Frostblaze variant, because I do think Frostblaze is probably one of the only few other viable alternates. Now the reason we use Wild Strike is I searched everywhere for all the best gems in the game, and Wild Strike is probably the only one that is usable. And when you use Wild Strike, and I'll make this in another video, you can see why there's such a bad meta in the game. And the fact is, skills are just not balanced correctly. You go look at Spectral Throw. Spectral Throw has 110 or 130% damage effectiveness, while Wild Strike has 235%, and Lightning Strike has 225%. So Wild Strike actually ends up having more damage effectiveness than Lightning Strike. So theoretically, Wild Strike should do more damage than Lightning Strike. But Lightning Strike does have a flat lightning damage component to it, which kind of puts it over the top by a little bit. So where's my Lightning Strike gem? So I don't even know where my Lightning Strike gem is anymore. I think Alright, so basically you can see here, Lightning Strike has... Oh, that's definitely not it. Oh wait, here's my Lightning Strike. This is a 2120 Lightning Strike. So Lightning Strike has a 230% effectiveness, while Wild Strike has 235. Now the thing is, Lightning Strike also have 10 to 192 flat added lightning damage, while Wild Strike doesn't have any. Now both skills does have a projectile component to it. Wild Strike's projectile component is that your melee strikes enemies, and then depending on the element chosen, it releases a fiery explosion, an arcing bolt of light, or an icy wave, and it will avoid choosing the same element twice in a row. So what this means is that unlike Lightning Strike, which just shoots out 8 projectiles, Wild Strike, you attack and it will then choose an element to do. So let's put in the gem. So this is the main problem with Wild Strike right here, is that if you don't hit anything, no projectiles come out. But Lightning Strike, if you don't hit anything, you still attack on the ground. And that actually is pretty bad, right? Because if you're not able to melee an enemy, then there will be no projectiles for you to leech off of. But that is actually not really ideal. And what this also means is that you will always need to put Hydra Spear on top of the bot. So you can see here, it shoots out something, right? And it shoots out something. So you have to actually hit a mob or a Hydra Spear in order to make the projectiles come out. So the way you want to position the Hydro Spears, you want to put it like right next to the boss, so that when you attack it, it will get hit with
My mana is gone.
it will get hit with the projectiles that come out. Because if you don't have the projectile, the Hydro Spear down, when you hit the boss, you won't get the projectile component a lot of times, because the what's it called, the freeze pulse like projectile will shoot past the boss, and so that's why the Hydro Spear needs to be like right in front of the boss. And if you do a lot of bossing and testing out Wall Strike, you will see that this is very, very important to be able to get high single target uptime. And what this means is that the playstyle is kind of annoying with Wall Strike, in that you have to put down your totems, and then you have to put down the Hydro Spear before you can start DPSing the boss. And this does lead to like lower DPS uptime in general, so that's something to know. But basically the playstyle is identical. You put down totems when it's a single target, and then you start attacking it. I will showcase a Maven fight later on, just so you can see how it actually works. It does a lot of damage, and it's around the same damage as Lightning Strike if you do the setup correctly. The big difference though is that there's something called Vol Lightning Strike that exists, and it's actually just kind of sad. So let me take this Armor Ore Stacker profile. We're gonna go look at Wall Strike, and this is the cheating profile of 5 billion DPS. So we're gonna see. So let's save as cheating armor, okay, and then we can go back and look at the Lightning Strike profile. So this is Dick's Lightning Strike profile, the guy I looked at who has the #1 gear. I think this is an old POB, but basically Lightning Strike, you change it over to Lightning Strike, you see at 55 mil, and projectiles is 37 mil. Now Wall Strike is going to be less purely because it's missing the flat lightning damage component. So, but you can still see it's respectable at 50 mil, and the explosion is 32, icy wave is 34 mil. So it's almost a very identical skill, right? But the fact of the matter is, Vol Lightning Strike exists in the game, which is kind of unfortunate, right? Vol Lightning Strike gives you an extra 25 mil that's going off, and you can double stack it with 2, so it's an extra 50 million DPS going off. So that's why it is so hard to actually end up beating the strike and then the beams, right? The beams going off. So that's why it's so hard to actually beat Lightning Strike as a skill for single target. So the reasoning you want to use Wall Strike is because Wall Strike has better clear, because Wall Strike actually has built-in chain. Now, someone I know did test it, and he did have 5 pierce boots, and he said he preferred to clear the Lightning Strike, but not many people has 5 pierce boots, and I do think a lot of people just hate pebbles so much. So it might really depend on the type of maps you're doing. So I just wanted to float out Wall Strike as a viable alternative. It is all content viable with my gear. I did kill everything in the game with it, including Wave 30 Simulacrum Deathless. But I do believe, in my personal opinion, if I was to keep playing the character, and I will keep playing the character, I believe that Wall Strike will beat out Lightning Strike when you have enough damage that damage doesn't matter, because I do think that it is a superior skill. However, Wall Strike is... the only bad part about Wall Strike is the fact that you have to hit something in order to trigger the projectiles, which makes it a little more dangerous to play. So overall, this is literally the only other skill that's actually playable. So you can see Frost Blades. You want to see what Frost Blades looks like. Frost Blades, because its damage effectiveness is so low, it's 38 mil, and then the projectiles is much lower. It's all because the Frost Blades attack damage and effectiveness is 187%. So this is what I mean by like GGG just has no idea how to balance a lot of skills. Then why does Lightning Strike, which gets a Vol version of it, have such insane damage? And let's not even talk about Spectral Throw. 11 million DPS. I know it could triple hit at the end because it could hit every 3 times with the same projectiles, but still, this is a pitiful amount of damage. And it just goes to show you that they probably need to just tune the numbers. If they tune the numbers, then the more skills will be viable, and it won't just be Lightning Strike or Vol Lightning Strike as every single build. So now that we know Wild Strike is a viable alternative, and it's actually a very fun and cool looking skill, let's go on to the Armor Ore Stacker. So right here we have the #1 POE.NINJA DPS profile. He actually forgot. So this is the one that he usually maps with, 32 mil or 33 mil or whatever. And this one is the 4.7 billion DPS profile. Now you might be wondering, what exactly is the person playing? And let me go to POE.NINJA real fast. And the build that these people are playing, let me just go to his profile, Jodox. does pop around in the stream once in a while. So you can see he actually changed it to 8.8 billion lightning strike DPS. So I guess before I was able to finish making this video, the POB updated and he was able to get 8.8 billion on lightning strike with this setup. So let's just see what he does. So number one thing you know is he has 17.5 million armor, right? And what this means is that that's pretty insane, right? 8.8 billion. So lightning strike is obviously going to be a lot of damage as it has a very high effectiveness of added damage, but so does what's it called, smite. So 8.8 bill, and he has 6.1 billion projectile DPS. So how does this actually happen? First of all, the profile is probably cheating a lot. 142 out of 128 points. And what does this mean? It probably means that he doesn't take a lot of these small clusters, as he doesn't have to point to. So what Path of Building does, or POE.NINJA does, is it doesn't know exactly what you actually take with the cluster jewels. So a lot of times you can just allocate these cluster jewels and it will think that you've taken every single point. It is pretty much a problem with the API on POE.NINJA. And it kind of sucks because it does lead to stuff like this, but it is nice to see numbers like this, right? So probably he's not taking any of these things if I had to guess. So when you want to cheat, you want to put in cluster jewels and never take the points in, because POE.NINJA will think that you took it. So he probably did take some of them, but I'm not really sure how much he took. But you can see if you actually make the profile so he actually has the right amount of points, he will probably only have like 2.6 billion DPS, and that's just how crazy like multipliers are in this game. So there's no way he actually took every single node on the tree, because it's just impossible. He has 128 points. Now that means his armor goes from all the way down from 17 million to 11 million. And why does this matter a lot? Because these nodes over here are all auras from your skills at 10% increased effect on you. So with all of these nodes taken, and he does have 4 1 passive point voices, but 1 passive point voices are not as expensive as before. So Wrath, Hatred, and Grace. So he actually has aura modifier 2.51%, 251%. That actually seems kind of lowish, but not really sure. Maybe, oh, it's because it's not Grace and Wrath. So what about the purities? Does it even run purities on this build? So okay, so what this thing does is, man, I'm glad that aura stackers aren't that common this time, because this thing does not include introspection. So this is the whole thing about purposeful harbingers. It doesn't include the 10% from all of these nodes. So the aura effect calculator is incorrect. So you can pretty much think that he doesn't actually have any of these nodes here. So let's just take it out so that we make this fair, right? So let's give him these, and then probably won't take these. Now it's very possible that he... So now the next point of cheating immediately is you see Supreme Ego. He can only have 1 permanent aura from you on your skill. Now what this means is that it gives you 50% more effect, which scales your aura effectiveness. Now this could work with March of the Legion if you only ran 1 aura, right? So if you only ran Purity of Ice and Haste, I mean, it is likely that he could run only 1 aura, but he actually runs multiple auras. So what's it called? The Supreme Ego would never work, because the way Supreme Ego works is that it gives you 50% more aura effect, but you can only have 1 aura on at a time. Now theoretically you can bypass this with March of the Legion, since it doesn't count as a permanent aura. So you could theoretically run 5 auras at a time, but he's obviously not doing this. So this node needs to be unchecked, right? So this node alone already gives him what, 527% DPS. And the reason this is because it's a more multiplier. Like I've always been saying, the whole game is about more multipliers and stacking it. And this more multiplier is being multiplied on all of his aura effect, which is another bunch of more multipliers, which has more multipliers because of stuff like String of Servitude and Crit Multi. So that's why that node is so insane. So he's obviously doesn't have that node, so he's already down to 423 mil. Now it's not like that's a small number at all, but overall that's how you actually get the profile to reasonable damage numbers. So this guy probably does have couple 100 million DPS, and it's actually pretty insane, right? So I actually don't know what this node does. Oh, this node is actually, I'm not really sure why Imbalanced Guard gives him so much. 100% chance to defend with 200% armor. Oh, this is another cheating thing. Imbalanced Guard. So what Imbalanced Guard does is it gives you 100% chance to defend with 200% armor. I'm not really sure if it just treats you with 200% armor the whole time, or what, or how this actually works. I'm not really sure if this increases your damage in game. I know that this will increases your armor on the path of building calculator. So it does seem like this is another cheating thing, because just because you defend with 200% armor doesn't mean that you actually have 200% of armor in the game. So after you take off that, you can see the damage goes to 214 mil, which is still insane because this guy still has 1.9 million armor. But it does go to show you how much you can actually end up cheating on PoE Ninja, and how you can take advantage of more multipliers to bring a profile from 200 mil or so to 8 billion. And I'm assuming this profile uses smite, right? So he uses lightning strike and he still gets the smite buff. So if you don't actually have smite up at all times, it actually goes down to 140 million DPS. Now bone chill is another thing that is, so like once, so this one makes it so supporter skills deal 15% more damage, and then enemies chill by supporter skills increase cold damage taken by chill effect. So this actually ends up benefiting summon skitter bots and makes you get more damage. Theoretically, you can also use awaken unbound ailments, right? And I'm pretty sure that would give him a lot of damage too. So this is another 9%. So there's a lot of different things you can do with skitter bots to give you a lot of damage. Primarily bone chill and awaken unbound ailments. These are pretty much the core fundamentals of any PoE Ninja boosting profile. And lastly, we have what we do on our Berserker, which is the reason why he paths over here is to get Supreme Ego and to get Charisma. Now the reason is before he was not anointing Charisma, he was anointing Charisma because you actually don't go here to get Supreme Ego, and he was. So what this means is that he takes Panopticon as the anoint, and what Panopticon does is that it gives you, what's it called? It gives you Vault Ancestral War Chief and Ancestral Protector, and it boosts the damage that you get from them. So you can see here, after you take out those things, the damage goes down to 92 million, right? But obviously you can have all of these things up, but this is pretty much just deconstructing the profile and how you bring down the damage from 8.8 bill to 92 bill. And it's just a bunch of more multipliers and stuff like that. And some stuff is just the PoE Ninja just not knowing how to calculate damage correctly, especially with Imbalanced Guard and Supreme Ego when the person actually doesn't use it. Now lastly, this is another thing is Bottle Faith, and this is what everyone always cheats with. 70% increased effect, gain no charges during flask effect. A lot of people use this, and the fact of the matter is this flask is OP, because even though he's not using Mage Blood because he uses String of Servitude, he still puts a 70% increased effect on all his flasks. He does normally have a Mage Blood setup, but obviously when you don't have a Mage Blood and you're using like regular flasks, you would never be using 70% increased effect and gain no charges, maybe for bossing. Now you can see here, this is his normal profile, and he uses, instead of 2 replica Dream Fetters, he uses the Aegis Aurora, and he has a Mage Blood on, and this is the more balanced mapping profile that he uses, and he actually doesn't have 142 points or whatever. So what he does is, I think he drops all of these points over here to get Supreme Ego, because it's much more easy to anoint Charisma, and Panopticon is kind of a troll anoint for him, as he has so much damage he never even needs to put down totems even at 100 mil or so. So a lot of it is just comes down to he just knows the game really well and how to take advantage of PoE Ninja. And his build is super cool. So if you guys want to try it out, I kind of recommend it if you like to see an unkillable character with some poor quality of life issues aside, but you can get used to playing it. And yeah, I hope this helps you out. It was pretty fun deconstructing the profile, because I was wondering how you can actually get to 8.8 billion DPS, and it turns out all you need is pretty much a lot of passive points. Supreme Ego and Imbalanced Guard is absolutely insane for the Armor Aura stacker. But yeah, so I wonder how you actually found out about imbalanced guard. I wonder if you just like go show node power and it lists that imbalanced guard is super high, so he decided to choose it. But hopefully that deconstructs the myth of the 8.8 billion lightning strike. I still might try this build out, but you can see here, this is the big problem with the build, is that when you go to the auras and that you have to turn on with March of the Legion, it only lasts 17 seconds. So every 17 seconds, you're pressing 4 buttons to turn on 4 auras at all times. But yeah. But now I'm going to showcase a little bit of Maven action with Wall Strike, so you can see how the skill looks.
I see the sparks you throw my way. I know your name is written.
Overall, I do believe Wall Strike and Lightning Strike are the two best skills in the game for strike skills for this build, and in general, purely because I think Frostblaze is also up there as an honorable mention. It has really good clear, but Frostblaze damage is just so much lower. But with the threshold jewels, it's actually a lot closer than you think. But if you use threshold jewels, you also lose out on two jewel sockets, which is kind of annoying. But you see that Wall Strike, all content viable, and props to this guy's profile. Very innovative, very cool stuff, and finally a cheating profile without 10 Watcher's Eyes or whatever. But this is pretty much the other type of cheating, just as bad. The cheating of too many passive points by abusing POE ninjas and how to use clusters and Supreme Ego and Imbalanced Guard. But love the profile, seems insane, and hope this helps out everyone who asks all the time, how do you get 8.8 billion DPS? But thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you find more mirrors, exalts, and mage bloods than I do, and see you next time. Bye.